Looks like an old paper.
Okay, Jason.
Hello, we are here at the Letchworth Village Cemetery that shows the the burials of all the individuals that had died at Letchworth Village from the time it opened up in the early 20th century up until now. Up until like the late 90s probably when it closed. So I'm here with
And what was Letchworth?
Letchworth Village was an institution,
Institutional State Hospital.
institutional state hospital that closed down in the late 90s. Actually, it took 20 years after Willowbrook and Letchworth the situation happened for it to officially close completely. I think it closed completely in 1997 as an institution.
What was the situation?
The situation was people with disabilities wanted to be in the community, and they fought hard with the people from Willowbrook in the 70s with Geraldo Rivera, and to get people out of the institutions and into the community.
And so this cemetery commemorates what exactly?
The cemetery commemorates all those that have died, that lost their lives at Letchworth Village. And because of all this tragedy that happened there, and it's a huge tragedy, like similarly, like at the Holocaust too, because in the late 19th century, early 20th century, the Americans created the eugenics movement, which inherently popularized Hitler and popularized the Holocaust. And so in a lot of ways, there's a lot of similar things that happened in America during that time frame that happened in the Holocaust, similarly.
Yeah, I think America is in denial of its history in regards to the history, in regards to how the country has treated developmental, intellectual disabilities and disability more broadly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the folks here would have been not physically disabled necessarily, but more of the developmental.
Yes.
But it could mean physical as well.
And psychiatric.
Yes. There were people here, who were physically disabled, and it's important to mention that in these institutions, a lot of times people were malnourished and encouraged, and regardless of whether they were born physically developmental delayed or not, they oftentimes contracted physical impairments while being in these places because of how they were treated and the circumstances thereof.
And I'm probably am missing some things that I talked about, but I'm trying to generalize and summarize as best as I can off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So I hope if I miss anything,
Yeah.
people could just add in,
Yes.
just ask me questions, and then I'll pop some
Yeah.
more answers in about that too.
Yes. My name is Dylan. This is my friend Jason.
I'm Jason. I'm Jason Ross. This is
Dylan Rothbein.
Dylan Rothbein, and we're here to talk about today about institutionalization process in America, Letchworth Village, and disability history.
Commemorating disability history because this is Disability Pride Month.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you speak to that then about this country? Other cultures have had similar experience, but since we are in the United States of America at this moment, and it is Disability Pride Month here in New York State, speak to that concept of institutionalizing people who are perceived to be different, people who have, that difference, because that difference is perceived to be threatening, perhaps. Mm-hmm. There's ignorance of the difference, so the difference is demonized, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. That if someone's not a white heterosexual male, cisgendered, then who so happens to be Christian, then it's like everyone is demonized. So like women, not just people with disabilities, but women, black people,
LGBTQ.
LGBT, Spanish people, from
Jewish people.
Jewish people especially,
Yes.
and many other cultures, and that have been corrupted and not only corrupted but like hurt by this society that we live in. And yet, yes, America is a great country. I guess we get to speak our voices, but at the same time, there's a lot of pain and hurt that's gone with the way people have been treated throughout American history, especially even in colonial times before America became a country.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that definitely speaks to it, and I think that it's important to honor our history as disabled people.
Yes.
We're both disabled activists, and commemorating our history is certainly a powerful thing.
And as disabled activists that we are, it's important for people to understand that people need to be listened to, especially people that have been oppressed for generations upon generations and ignored and seen as like people that aren't really people, and they don't, and a lot of times people don't say it these days. They won't say it these days, but in their back of their mind, they think it.
Yeah.
And and the reason being, they may not say, people may not say these things, but through their actions, the way they can tell in the back of their mind, they're actually thinking it, and that's sad.
So at what point, though? I mean, Dylan and I were talking about this on the way up here. You know, it's unfortunate when people that are different are considered to be lower just because of their difference,
Yes.
right? So, on the other hand, there does seem to be a useful purpose for the term disability. You know, where's that threshold between difference and disability?
Well, I think that brings up a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all depends on how you define disability. As far as we're concerned, disability is a cultural identity.
But at the same time, not everyone is disabled. And if people say that everyone's disabled, you're disregarding the impairments that people with disabilities and disability community and disabled people have experienced all their life.
And communally speaking, what the community as a whole has experienced from the societies of which that exist,
Mm-hmm.
and the frameworks. Speaking of which, you want to do the Jewish part now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. It's...
And the last time I was here, I came with my staff Annie. I did a Facebook Live on my own page, and I had sung a Jewish prayer, Osei Shalom, and my staff had sung a song from her church, but I can't remember the song she sang from her church. It's a video, and it was something about, I forget what it was about, but it was a really good prayer. It didn't say anything, it was very universal, like Osei Shalom is, so we're gonna say the prayer right now.
So why don't you say a little bit about what that is, the Osei Shalom prayer? What is that? What is that about?
So...
You know more about that.
Yeah, I can explain that. So, do you want to lay the rock first?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's lay a rock.
Well, hold on. So let me first explain. Okay, so the prayer that we're going to be doing is the mourner's Kaddish.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, people say this for purposes of the remembering of a loved one. In fact, it's considered to be customary to say this prayer, this poem, this ancient poem of our people, at the anniversary of one's death. And here, as disabled people,
And
we're here to honor the lives of the people who came before us in our community.
and this prayer has that, especially in Osei Shalom, which is part of the Kaddish.
Yeah.
This prayer for to speak for death is not really so much about death,
Yeah.
but it's about life.
Yes.
Everything in that prayer doesn't say anything about death at all. It always talks about living and life
Yes.
and God.
And
that's
honoring
all it
the
talks
life
about.
that existed.
Mostly about life.
Yes. And I
It
also
doesn't really talk about death at all. It doesn't even talk about it in the past.
I also think that another interesting tidbit, I think, is another way of looking at this is, as a culture, one of the most basic ideas of developed cultures is this very basic function of remembering the dead.
Yes.
There's something very basic and, thinking about like life and cultures and, thinking about how,
Is death really a social construction?
well, yes, but at the same time, when we think about human cultures, one of the most greatest things is for a community to get together the morning it's dead.
Yes.
And I think that's directly connected to its legitimacy and longevity is to get together for cultural functions.
Yes.
In the Jewish community, we get together by saying Kaddish to honor the memory of our loved ones.
Yeah.
But in the disabled community, we come here. And because the fact is, it could be either of us on the,
If this was
Very
50
fair.
years ago.
yeah.
If this
And-
was 50 years ago, it could have been either of us on
Yeah.
that wall.
Yeah, my mother was almost in Willowbrook because of her dyslexia. So, yeah, it's definitely very real to me. One of the things that we're going to do first is it's also customary in Jewish tradition to lay a rock by the gravestone of the loved one. So Jason and I are going to go and find a rock and place it up there, and when we're done, we're going to say a blessing.
Yes. Yeah, the rock's right over there. Trying to find a rock.
There are more over here, Jason.
No, oh, I got one.
Okay.
I got one. You got one? I got a rock. It's a medium, small size.
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah, so, and this is someone left an old newspaper lecture on there. Men, women, and children of Lecture Village. I'll just put my rock over here. Yeah.
And the reason why I'll be using my phone and a recording is because it's a reasonable accommodation for my dyslexia. And that's critically important because if it wasn't for one of the things that I got out of this history is that if it wasn't for the push of community integration, I would not have the accommodations I've had today.
Yeah, and I probably, if it wasn't for Olmsted,
Yes.
I would not be where I am today either. I'd be struggling more and in poverty and poor and possibly on the verge of institutionalization.
Yes.
Who knows?
And what's Olmsted?
Olmsted is a court case from 1999.
Supreme Court case.
Supreme Court case from 1999 that allows that where two disabled people
In a nursing home.
from a nursing home, I think one with intellectual disability and one with psychiatric, won their case at the Supreme Court to be in the community and to make their own choices in the community.
Regarding their own services.
Regarding their own services. And because of that, this is why this country created a program for community inclusion in the community called Self-Direction for Adults with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities to live in the community and take control of their own services, take control over their own lives,
And pick those who are working with them.
and pick
Yeah.
their own support system
Okay, so this is...
based on their own self-awareness. But a lot of these agencies throughout the county and throughout the state
Yeah.
do not want to ignore self-direction because they're afraid that that they're gonna lose money
Yeah.
if more people do self-direction, and that's a problem too, because more people can self-direct and be in the community than what is going on with these agencies, and these agencies are freaking out almost.
Yeah. Okay, so...
All of them.
Let's now go and say the Kaddish. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it is very bad. What?
It's not loud enough.
Oh, you would rather I put it on speaker?
Yeah, put it on the speaker. That's right. Because otherwise I could say it too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hold on. Oh. Okay.
As loud as you can.
It's loud. Okay. Please.
Should I feel my vibe? Oh, say shalom b'mamav. Uya, say shalom. Via kol Yisrael. B'mru amen.
And that was the mourner's Kaddish.
Yes.
And so...
And it was very, sorry it feels a little bit mumbling a little bit, but it's hard to listen to it and say at the same time.
Yes, that's hard. It's a skill that I've developed.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point we'll take a tour of the cemetery.
Sure.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. Shall I leave my stuff here?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back. So a lot of these tombstones are numbered. They don't have names on them.
Because we don't know the names.
Yeah, but some of them they found the names already.
Yes.
Some of them they found the names already. So some of them, as we go to the cemetery, you'll see names, but very few. And most of them are just numbered. So it's kind of sad that happened, but it's like the person wasn't a person; they're just a number, and
Yeah.
that's a human rights violation.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's pretty sad.
Yes.
Yeah, but this one, the numbers behind it, I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know why they did that. It's almost like what they did at Salem. The witches that were witches, they put the numbers backwards, and the people that weren't witches, they put it forwards. So hopefully they weren't thinking like that at Salem. But that's kind of interesting. So we'll go through something a little bit more. And it's very interesting.
Yeah.
We'll get in the back. There's some stones. Oh, there's some stones over there with the names on it.
Yeah, let's go take a look.
Let's go over there.
Yeah.
And I tried to find some stones for the ones that were Jewish. And I don't have flowers for the ones that are Christian, so because flowers are expensive.
Yeah.
Then maybe we could find a weed, a little nice flower weed.
Yeah.
Like this is one person.
Yeah.
He's the Christian tombstone. Fred Stoll, I don't know who he is. And then they made a stone for him.
There's just so many more than I thought there were based on.
Here's a new tombstone, Eric White, who's Jewish. 1902 to 1965.
Yeah, if you think about it also, when we look at this history, it's also very humbling because
Yeah.
we're both disabled.
Yeah.
We're developmentally disabled. Theoretically, if we were born at a different time,
Yeah.
our tombstones could have been here.
Yeah. More tombstones could have been there too. And that's
Yeah.
pretty sad.
Yeah, so when we
Like Sylvia Maria Paulino.
yeah.
Well, she was young. June 15, 1954 to October 27, 1964.
Wow.
She was only 10 years old
It's really
and died in Letchworth.
yeah.
The tragedy.
Yeah. And if you think about it, at the time, parents were, doctors didn't know how to handle these individuals, so they oftentimes told parents to send them off to institutional state hospitals like this one and erase their kid from the family photo album.
Yes.
And,
Because that's what they were told to do.
They were actually told to do that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
It's
yeah.
kind of, that's why it's kind of like symbolism to what happened in the Holocaust almost. That's why, like, they really should do, New York State people in New York should really create a, like they did for the Holocaust Museum, they should create a display memorial museum too, for
Yeah.
those that lost their lives.
Yeah.
And filicide is still a problem too,
What is still a problem?
filicide,
What's
because there are parents and caregivers that that have killed their disabled child, and that's still a problem too
Yeah.
to this day.
And sometimes they're not always prosecuted either.
No, actually, most of the times they're not prosecuted,
Yeah.
or if they are prosecuted, they're let go very easily, and that's
Yeah.
because the tragedy of the parent had go through. But in reality,
That's
it's
considered like extenuating circumstance.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, it is, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
My stones are still there actually from last time. I put some stones here about a month ago with my staff Annie, and my stones are still here on each one of the Jewish cemeteries. So I didn't have a flower for the Christian cemeteries.
Yeah.
So if you want to put stones on too, Dylan.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
This is 1938 to 1966. He's a little bit older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Morton Philip Bittner.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's mixed between Christian and Jewish. Abraham Goldblatt, 1895 to 1966. He's
71.
Jewish.
Yeah. And
And
this one, Ronnie Heuman, I'm not that much older than he was.
no, you're not. Which means it could have been you
Yeah.
if you were back then.
Yeah. But so much has changed, but at the same time, so much is the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does this mean that there have been at least 880 of these?
No, it's just a number they gave them.
Yeah.
But
It could have been, yeah, it could have been that, but I don't think so.
Yeah, and it's a shame that these individuals were literally forgotten from society.
Yeah. Yeah. They were totally forgotten.
Yeah, who knows what contributions they
Yeah.
would have made.
Yep. So there really needs to be something more to be done about. I mean, things are getting better. Things were getting better under Obama, but but things there still needs to be a lot more to change, and especially the fact that yesterday was the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act,
Yeah.
and people were celebrating it, but most people don't really take it seriously, and it's not very well enforced by the police, by authorities,
Yes.
by professionals,
It's
by
also
families.
it's also true that I find that Jason and I have our generations divided.
Yeah.
Jason is a friend of mine, but he's older than I am, and
Yeah.
so for me, as someone who's young, I'm almost 24, and as
Yeah.
someone who's younger, I also think that it's a sad to the youth.
Yeah.
It does a disservice to them not to educate them on their history. I remember when I was in Israel, I went to the Holocaust Museum,
Yeah.
and and because of that, I went to the Holocaust Museum, and they talked about the constant principle of never forgetting.
Yeah.
I believe that's always important to remember who you are, where you came from, and the history of your community.
Yeah.
And it's quite humbling to see this. And I think it's important to teach generations to come, the younger generation, what happened here. Because
Yeah.
as the old saying goes, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it.
Yes, and we're very close to repeating it because things have been going on for the past 10 years like this, similarly, and because people can't have problems thinking outside the box, and I started a job this week at the Rockland Independent Living Center, where part of what I have to do is create Facebook Lives on my own Facebook, where I engage with the community and the youth with disabilities and the community in general on certain topics, like what does independent living really mean and stuff like that, and other topics I'll come up with. So
Well, another issue that is part of the current administration is that increasingly social benefits are being tied to employment.
yeah,
So you're lucky enough to be able to have just chipmunks.
yeah, chipmunks.
You're lucky enough to be able to have obtained gainful employment,
Yeah.
but the whole idea of job
it's-
interviews and employment
And this is just a
acquisition
part-time
is
job.
particularly difficult, though, right?
Yeah,
and
it's very difficult because they typically they don't give the disability community a chance. But
could you say more about that, like why and how that
and I think
impacts the disability community?
I think
Yeah.
I think they don't give the disability community a chance to understand what it means to how to get a job, and that jobs is about building a relationship. And sometimes it's over time, sometimes it's over a short period of time, a long period of time, but it's about building a relationship with someone. And because society doesn't really understand, especially autistic people and disabled people in general, the fact is that they don't give a disabled person a chance to build that relationship, because if someone who's disabled, severe disabilities or more severe disabilities or less severe disabilities, they don't give that person a chance to build that relationship, then that person's never going to get a job. They're just going to be job placed, and when they get job placed, they're either going to be in a shelter workshop or some menial job that they have to be in for life.
Yeah.
And then they never get to retire. They never get to enjoy the fruits of what everyone else enjoys. And then they're under guardianship, they're under making their own decisions, because they don't learn to how to make their own decisions, even in elementary school. And I asked this question back in past few weeks to various people, adults with disabilities, if they've learned decision making in the elementary schools or high schools, and they said most time when they learn decision making in the school system, people with disabilities, all they learned was if you make a bad decision, forget about it, you'll be naughty for life. They never really learned the idea of making a decision.
Yeah.
And that's the problem
in
in school.
residential treatment centers they do.
And that's a problem with the public school system. They don't teach decision making.
But in residential places, they do. At the places that I've been to, they were very big on teaching us that that not only are decisions, but the fact that there are consequences for our actions.
But even though they do that in residential,
That's not wrong.
even though they do that in residential, people in residential are still prone to guardianship,
Yeah.
to the old rules of guardianship, and that's really a big problem too.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get to, though, I appreciate your encapsulation of the big picture, Jason. But some people might not understand that the issue related to employment is really very nitty gritty. So, for
It is.
example, when you're asked to go to a job interview, for example, one of the first things people say, if you look for recommendations on how to do a job interview or whatever, is that give a nice firm handshake.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable with handshakes, and yet Dylan is not. So
Yeah.
if Dylan goes in to get a job and the employer extends his,
I'm
but I mean, if
I'm
the
a little comfortable. I'm not that comfortable with handshakes. I mean, I do handshakes because I learned it,
right.
but I really don't like it. But I know I have to do it because
see.
I was taught it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But so you understand the impact on the other side of somebody
Yeah.
who reaches out their hand, no hand is offered in return, and
They don't get
the
the
first
job.
thing the employer is like, this person can't even meet me halfway.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas
And
that's being insensitive to the needs of that person applying for the job.
Yes. It
But
doesn't mean that
those
the
are
person-
those are simple day-to-day structural barriers.
Yeah. That's a you brought up a good point about that barrier, because people with disabilities, like Dylan can testify, are always set with that barrier all the time, and they're always told, people with disabilities are always told, if you can't meet us halfway with our standards, in neurotypical standards, then you can't work.
Yeah.
Even if, not just that, with eye contact, handshaking, even with the way neurotypical people communicate too.
And also gender dysphoria as well.
Yeah, all these different things, everything has to be a precise, standardized way of thinking. And
So what could help in the employment field for a job interview, say, to make accommodations for someone who's autistic or has Asperger's or
or severe disabilities.
right?
Yeah.
What are some accommodations that could easily be, folded into the typical job interviewing process?
Well, as Temple Grandin put it, she brought up a very good point of sell your work and not yourself.
Yes.
So,
But a lot of people with disabilities have problems with that because people with disabilities are told that they can't do that.
yes.
So when Temple has a point there, but Temple also doesn't understand the logistics of our things.
Right. I mean, there are so many ways. I would say we need to think about the employment viability of the person.
Yeah.
And
Another stone.
I think that is a factor as well. And there are so many ways to make a living.
There is. There's so many ways to make a living, and people with disabilities are not told all the many ways to make a living.
Yes.
Like, for instance, there's a movie called Bottom Dollar
That's a great movie.
that came out at Real Abilities, and it talks all about this.
Yes.
And in Bottom Dollar, there's people in that movie that were with severe disabilities, even non-speaking, that own their own businesses.
Yes, I own my own business as well.
Yeah.
I have a disability and media business. I'm incorporated, and I find that it's actually easier for me to freelance than to do anything else.
Yeah.
Also, because it leads to the highest likelihood of self accommodation, but also from the standpoint,
And also, people with disabilities are more into the arts
yes,
and the media and the photography and film.
Yes.
And people with disabilities are told, you can't do media, you can't do the arts.
Yeah.
You're a person with disability, you can't do that.
Yeah, I love what Dylan was told, that you should just be a plumber.
Yeah. Or a nurse. Yeah.
Or and people with disabilities, if we're told things like with the social model of disabilities that, oh, that's too radical. That's not radical. What's radical is everyone else in society talking about the medical model of disability and how disability is a burden and a problem and needing to be fixed and cured. That's really the radical part of society, not what everyone else is saying is radical.
Also, like places like this as well.
Yeah, people say places like this is radical, but it's not radical. It's reality.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a way for people to. There's a way for people to live in this world, and understand the disability experience, but there's also people that really have struggled so much to even get up out of bed in the morning, or even struggle to brush their teeth or tie their shoes, but or struggle to even speak too, or even embrace their loved ones. But that just means society has to just try that much harder than what they've already tried, than to figure out ways to cure and fix and use the medical model as their radical standpoint.
So one of the things you're saying that could be very concrete is to provide maybe advice, consultation to folks with developmental disabilities to show them how to start their own businesses, maybe.
Yeah, that's one thing. But another thing is what I'll be doing on my job mostly is engaging with the youth and getting the youth to know all their options, and working with the parents also, and creating the groups and almost formulating a network for the independent living center where I work with, a network of groups and network of self-advocates in Rockland County, and that is going to be a big push for me to do, and it's a big job for me to do. That's part-time work, 2 days a week, but at the same time I feel like I can do it. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of time, but I know I could do it. And
do you think Rockland County is progressive in that regard? Do you think there are other counties that are doing more than Rockland County, or less generally?
There's counties doing more and more. The counties that are doing more I think are upstate, because there's more people upstate that are self-directed and stuff like that. But the states that are doing the most people with disabilities in decision making, support decision making, and the job front and community living is actually the red states out in the Midwest.
Yeah.
They're actually doing the best. Surprisingly, like we would think that that's the opposite, but it's actually the red states doing better.
And
like Montana,
is there a reason
Texas.
for that?
I don't know I don't know why that is. I don't know. I don't think it has to do with Republican or Democrat. I just think that's just people's belief system, what they think.
Well, here's what I think. I think that it's not just a question of that. It's also a question of one of the probably greatest failures and complications in the given system is that when it comes to this sort of thing, is that it's inherently problematic because it's handled by the states.
Yeah.
So what state you live in is based upon how good of services you get. Unfortunately. And so, yeah, living in New York, it's better. I have friends out in Virginia, and apparently that turns out to be a thing. Yeah, there's less services out there. So definitely where you're located is certainly a factor.
Yeah. And I'm about to simultaneously go on my own Facebook Live just to videotape this a little bit because I think this is be important. Oh wait, I don't want to start yet, so I'm just gonna add a tag of description. What should I call it? What's a good tagline for this?
Disability Pride commemoration.
Remembering
Disability Pride.
Or maybe remembering disability history. Remembering disability history and celebrating disability pride. One sec. Uh-oh. Struggling with this. Okay, so here I'm gonna go. Oh wait. So I'm gonna start it now. Live video.
Okay,
One
so
sec. Hello everyone. I'm here with my friends Dylan and Mario, and we just did a Facebook Live on their Facebook Live talking about disability history, Lecture Village, the history of institutionalization in America, and we started Steve Silverman's watching. That's good.
yeah.
And we started talking about a lot of different things, and we even said Mourner's Cottage at Letchworth. So here's a picture of Letchworth for everyone to look at. Those who shall not be forgotten. This is at Letchworth. I put a stone here for Annie, like a few weeks ago, and then I put this stone up today, and I don't know where Dylan's stone was, but it was pretty good. And Dylan's gonna play a song that he sang. She's gonna sing a song that she sung. Sorry for misgendering. Dylan is transgendered.
Yeah, I'm a
trans woman.
transgender woman, yeah.
Yeah, she's a transgender woman. She's just started her hormones. Is that okay? Okay, fine.
Yes.
So I'm getting used to these things, and it's pretty good. So, and also we're gonna interview my characters. Here's Mario, who's been simultaneously flapping. So here's Dylan listening with his song.
So, her song. So, this is a song I wrote called Richmond Jones. Richmond Jones worked at an institutional state hospital, and I wrote this song to commemorate the history of institutionalization and the history of developmental intellectual disabilities in this country more broadly. And yeah, I feel as though as a musician, it's another way of relating to people, communicating to people. And one of the most interesting things, if we look at the history and development of culture, arts builds culture, and particularly a lot of people kept their history through song. That has been a constant theme throughout human history. And yeah, I consider the work I do to be like the Bob Dylan of Neurodiversity. So yeah, this is a song I wrote called Richmond Jones.
Let's go.
Away, fading away from our families in Willowbrook, in Lexworth. This is our history. We can't forget. Richmond Jones. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. The idea gave us our RTCs so we can get the help we need. The ADA paved the way for higher ed. The media gave us our group homes. Homestead gave us our brokers. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. He was a hero. He was a star. His name was Richmond Jones. Taking snapshots of the disabled wherever they roam in the ward. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there. Long live Richmond Jones. A snapshot here, a snapshot there.
So, that was great. That was interesting. And I think what we need to do. Oh, hi, Aji. Oh, hi, John. So we had 4 people on so far from my Facebook, and we kind of we think about this in a way it's like that it's important to bring on about disability history, so much so because, like, as what we discussed on the video before on the Mario's was filming me, which I'll add on to this afterwards. But we talked about a lot of different things of how people with disabilities have been, or disabled people, or disability community has been very much what's the right word? Torn apart, or like
Yeah.
Divided?
divided, torn apart, and not really seen as like people. And the disability community in general, especially those with more severe disabilities, are like pushed aside. Not if they want to go into the arts, you can't go into the arts. You have to do a shelter workshop. If you want to do a shelter workshop, you go into a low-level job. And that's kind of sad, right? Right, Dylan?
Yes, I think that's an issue too. A lot of times people are overwhelmed by the disabled because they don't tend to understand. And I think what we're trying to show today is that as disabled people, we have a community, we have a history.
Mm-hmm.
We have ambitions, goals. We want to be a part of your life, as we would like you to be open to considering us a part of your life as well.
Yes. Yeah. So should we bring on Max? My
Yes.
character? Hey.
Yes.
So
What's it? Just if I could just intercede for a second, it's kind of interesting because you have another song, right, in which you talk about we don't want your pity, we just want your friendship,
yeah.
Yes.
right? Which is
Yeah, I think one song's good for now.
sure, of course. I just was referring to the lyrics
Yeah.
because they were apropos, you know, that
Yeah.
and institutionalizing or institutionalizing people with disabilities or differences, you know, is a way of providing them with pity and a way of sort of absolving people from having to give them friendship, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, and part of why I do these Facebook Lives now is because I started a part-time job this week. Well, I'll be doing more Facebook Lives for my job. Just to engage the community in Rockland and just talk about certain topics that are pertinent to the disability community and what disabled people want to talk about or people with disabilities want to talk about that they're not allowed to talk about, or they're afraid to talk about, or they just right, they can't talk about it. So for some reason, because disabled people really aren't listened to that much, right?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yes. That's a huge issue.
yeah, that's a huge issue. So I'll be doing more of these every single week, and part of what I'll be doing also is bring on certain other topics. Like my first topic probably will be soon. We'll probably be talking about what does independent living really mean, right? I think that's a good starting point, right?
Yeah.
Because what does independent living really mean for everyone, you know? And is independent living something that people with disabilities understand or not understand? Well, what do people with disabilities know about independent living for themselves? Because everyone thinks about the ways they want to be supported by people differently, and people want support differently, and stuff like that. And by doing so, we could help create a bridge of so that none of this, where I'll take a picture of some of these names, some of these pictures of people who named like Rose Butler, Rose Johnson, all these different names that were just those who were forgotten at Letchworth, so that, or buried on the mountain, John Doyle, all these people that were buried here, they suffered greatly from society, and that's pretty bad. Someone left one of these newspapers here, by the way, that I thought was very interesting. It was pretty interesting. I wanted to take a picture of that. But, yeah.
Let's talk to Max.
Let's talk to Max. And, yeah, thanks. Okay, so I got Max. Max is king. Max's pronouns are they, them. Yep. And he has I didn't bring his wheelchair with him with them today because I felt like we were on grass and Max wouldn't be able to wheel it on grass and stuff. But I brought his cane at least, their cane, and Max's service animal too is gonna be over there.
What's the service animal's name?
Chloe Schuyler.
Okay.
And Max doesn't need his headphones today, but I brought his headphones anyway to show that Max brings his headphones. And I've been trying to create a YouTube series for Max called Max's World that I've been trying to edit. That a few people have said they would look at for me and would help me figure out what to do with that. But the service arm's not going anywhere. So I brought Max to facilitate communication with him. With them. Because Max doesn't speak. He hasn't spoken for like,
They.
they haven't spoken their whole life. And they were in institutions in the 50s and 60s, and in 1970, he fought hard. They fought hard for the self-direction program in the pilot program. That, thank you for that, because sometimes I meet so many different people, and Max even gets pissed off at me too. When I meet so many different people, they come back to Max, but one day I'll probably just shave his mustache off a little bit, maybe. Yeah, get the mustache off. But let me get his facilitate communication out, and Max will talk. Max, and I have Rosa too, Rosa Parks, Troy, but Rosa Parks, Troy, they couldn't come, and Ed Roberts, who's also autistic and trans male, couldn't come either, and Yuri Lama is a trans female, and she couldn't come either. Yeah. Max has taught me so much, especially about genders too. So here's Max's talk. So Max is gonna say something now. He's just gonna say something simple. And this is also to show that there are people with severe disabilities that also use facilitate communication, and it is a thing, and it is a thing that works for many people, as well as part-time AAC users too.
Yeah, I've used facilitated communication devices when I was selectively mute. I was not speaking selectively for over 5 years, and one of the most important things to remember is when we look back and we say how far have we come in disability history, well, now you're right to use facilitated communication at, say, a workplace is legally protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Okay, so here comes Max's talk.
My name is Max. Welcome to my life. Enjoy my show with my friends Rosie and Yuri.
I'll repeat that back for a minute.
My name is Max. Welcome to my life. Enjoy my show with my friends Rosie and Yuri.
Okay, so, Max, why don't you tell us about your life day to day in Willowbrook?
Sure.
So just holding Max here. Max is talking, and Max actually, he was in different various institutions, as he told me before. But I'll let Max talk. Nothing mass without us.
My life in institutions was interesting. I wish things were like it was today yesterday.
So, what was a typical day like in an institution?
Lonnie and Becca are watching too.
Oh, who's that?
Lonnie Smith and Becca Laurie.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Hello.
See me. See my
Sorry about that, Max. Max touched something.
My life was entrenched with men and lots of men surrounding me. I could not engender myself properly. It was sad because I could not see my family.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Max.
What kinds of things did you do in the institution for fun? I know that oftentimes in dark times it is possible to find a light.
I would try to paint, but I CIUKD knit.
Yeah, Max is a little nervous.
Not
Side up.
to deckhouse head toe. WRK work in TGE pit. I would try to paint, but I could not because I had to work in the pit.
So what have you learned from your experience in the institution?
I learned TGAT that I had to fight and speak up with my I learned that I had to fight and speak up with my body.
What do you think youth, disabled youth, can take from your experience?
Disability community can learn from my experience. experience. TGMSELVSA. Chance. To. Be.
Max is trying to get the right words out. Sorry about that.
The disability community can learn from my experience as by giving themselves a chance to be opportunity.
Why do you think it's important to commemorate the history of institutions?
Because here. Because our history.
Michelle Padilla says, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Because our history matters, it does really matter.
How do you think things have changed over the last... how do you think things have changed since you were in the institutions?
Perception is not different. People try, but they do and they get it.
Oh, he meant do not get it. They meant do not get it. Yeah. Which I'll play it again.
Perception is not different. People try, but they do and they get it.
They do not get it. Right,
So,
Max?
where
He spelled the NIT by accident.
where do you see the disability
They spelled the
community?
NIT.
Where do you see the disability going based upon your experience?
I mean, the disability rights movement, or?
Yeah. What do you think the future holds?
For the disability rights community.
Yeah.
I'll fix this for Max this time.
The future is strong if they stay strong.
So, what does Disability Pride Month mean to you, Max?
Because of me. Friends. Who did not make tea.
Try that.
It It saddens because my friends who did not make it because they died. But I am happy now.
Happy. Max is going fast.
Yeah. So that's about all the questions I have for Max.
Max wants to say one more thing.
Okay.
Thank you for your support, all of you, and I hope you watch my show when it is ready.
I think that's it.
You finished?
Yeah, that's it. So, Max, what's one other thing you want to do? I'm embarrassing you? Sorry about that. Max, I'm sorry about misgendering you. Don't give me that look. Okay. Alright, I get Chloe. Hi, Sky.
Any final thoughts for you, Dylan?
Hello, everyone. I'm here with
When it comes
it's
to
done. It's done. Dylan and how did it go?
good.
Pretty well.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
How much people saw it?
I didn't see.
So I would say as a final thought, it's
Rich?
with Disability Pride Month coming to a close, with the ADA being commemorated yesterday. When I think about these issues, disability pride, it really makes me feel proud to be disabled and proud to celebrate the diversity of identities that I have. And I think that it really gives me hope for the future, because I believe that history, when you look at the history of grassroots movements, the disabled community, disability rights movement, as an example, I really see the potential of where things can go, and I can't help be inspired by those brave activists who came after me, particularly those who died in the institutions, the institutional state hospitals like we were commemorating today, but also for those who bravely fought for the Americans with Disabilities Act. Some of those people even there was this protest called the Capitol Crawl, where disabled people who used wheelchairs climbed up on their forearms. I can't help, in order to help push the passage of the ADA, I can't help be inspired by their history. I feel like I'm a student of their work. I have spent time with disabled activists across generations and with a variety of different impairments, and it makes me proud to be a part of the disabled community, and it inspires me to work hard to ensure disability rights for the next generation and for my community around me, for those who haven't been born, and for those who are coming up in the world.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to me talk. And thank you, Dylan and Mario, for inviting me too. And I hope to do more videos with them. And I hope to that when I do my videos, you go to my page too. You can, if you want. And
What is your page? What is it called?
it's my Facebook page.
Sorry, and it's your name?
It's fine. It's facebook.com/ well, it's on my Facebook friends, so like, but / TheAmazing.
There we go. The Amazing.
The Amazing J.